The receptionist told him he didn't belong in the building minutes before he was set to close a $1,000 deal. What happened next brought an entire company to its knees. The rain wasn't heavy enough to blur the glass doors outside Carter and Pierce Consulting in downtown Seattle. Inside, the marble-tiled lobby glowed under fluorescent lights, a faint espresso scent lingering in the air. People in tailored blazers passed by, earbuds in, phones glued to their hands, all looking like they had somewhere to be. Marcus Everett stepped through the door quietly, unnoticed at first. He wore a charcoal trench, not flashy but functional, and carried a worn leather briefcase. No Rolex, no entourage, just a tall black man, 42, with steady eyes and a calm presence that didn't demand attention but probably should have. The receptionist, Lauren, glanced up from her desk. Her badge said so, no older than 24. Brunette bob, heavy mascara, one AirPod in. She barely met his gaze before flicking her eyes to the clock behind him. "Hi, I've got a 10 a.m. "With the executive board," Marcus said, voice even, polite. She blinked. "For what department?" "I'm here for the board of directors meeting. It's scheduled. I'm Marcus Everett." He waited, giving her a moment to process. Instead, she smirked. "Right. You're with what again? Vendors don't use this entrance." "No," he replied calmly. "I'm the CEO of Next Gen Solutions." She leaned back in her chair like she didn't buy a word of it and glanced at her monitor with a dramatic sigh. "I don't see your name here," she said. "Maybe you've got the wrong building." He didn't flinch. "This is 1420 Pine Street, correct?" She rolled her eyes. "Yeah, but like I said, we don't let random suppliers wait here. If you're dropping something off, use the loading dock around back." Marcus paused, not because he didn't know what to say, but because he'd seen this movie before. He didn't argue, didn't flash an ID, didn't make a scene. He looked at her for a moment, gave a faint nod, and turned toward the exit. As he reached the door, a junior staffer stepped out of the elevator, a young guy, probably fresh out of college. He froze mid-step when he saw Marcus, eyes widening. "Mr. Everett?" he said, almost breathless. "Wait, sir, you're early. There's still—" Marcus raised a hand gently. "No worries," he said, not breaking stride. "Tell them thanks for the opportunity." He pushed the door open and stepped back into the rain. The staffer stood there, mouth half open, before the elevator doors closed behind him. At the front desk, Lauren went back to scrolling her phone, oblivious to the fact that her smirk was about to become the most expensive in the company's history. They didn't know who they'd just turned away. Marcus Everett wasn't born into power. No corner offices, trust funds, or polished networks were handed to him. He grew up in Macon, Georgia, in a one-story house that creaked after every storm. His mother worked double shifts as a nurse's aide, and his father, when he was around, fixed cars in their gravel driveway. Marcus learned early to make things work, even when they were broken. He wasn't loud, didn't grandstand, but when he spoke, you listened. He didn't waste words. By 16, he'd built a working PC from discarded school parts, not to game, but to understand how circuits talked to each other. While other kids texted or snuck out, he taught himself to code on a cracked monitor propped up by a phone book. He got into Georgia Tech on a partial scholarship, graduated in the top 5% of his class. No frats, no parties. He was building something and knew it. His first company, a small app for managing field crew schedules, was coded in a studio apartment above a laundromat in Atlanta. It flopped. He didn't sulk. He rebuilt. The second version, sharper, got acquired. But Next Gen Solutions? That was the game changer. Built from scratch. No venture capital, no glitzy launch, just contracts, clean delivery, and systems that worked. Within 3 years, 5 major logistics firms used NextGen to coordinate trucking routes across the Pacific Northwest. He kept his circle tight, his books clean, his office door open. By 42, he'd turned NextGen into one of the fastest-growing SaaS firms in the region. Not Silicon Valley, not New York, not LA. He didn't need those zip codes to validate him. Now Carter & Pierce, the firm that just told him to get lost, was about to sign a $48,000 partnership with him. The deal had been in the works for 8 months. His team had flown out twice, vetted backgrounds, paperwork, projections, everything cleared. The final meeting was a formality. They just wanted to meet the man before signing. They had their chance, and they blew it. Not because he didn't wear a badge, not because he didn't fit their image of power, but because their gatekeeper at the front desk couldn't imagine him across a boardroom table. Marcus had seen it before, in banks, hotels, even tech conferences where people assumed he was the help. But here's the thing, he didn't get mad. He never got mad. Not because it wasn't personal, but because letting it be personal would mean they'd won something. They hadn't. As he walked down Pine Street under a drizzle, his phone buzzed twice in his coat. He checked the screen, a message from his VP in Portland, confirming the contract signing was set for next week. Marcus stopped, looked at the skyline, and made a decision right there on the sidewalk. One move, just one. He scrolled to a number labeled James T. Horizon Dynamics and hit call. Back in Seattle, he'd made his choice without saying a word. The call connected in 2 rings. "Marcus," the voice on the other end was half surprised, half amused. "Man, you don't usually call unless someone screwed up. Who is it this time?" Marcus gave a quiet chuckle. "James, I've got something for you. You at your desk?" "Yeah, what's up?" Marcus stepped under the awning of a deli across from Carter & Pierce's tower. His tone stayed even. "Remember that platform integration Carter was dragging their feet on?" James's voice sharpened, leaning in. "Yeah, you were supposed to close with them today, right?" "I was, until their front desk decided I wasn't worth the elevator ride." A beat of silence, then James laughed, almost disbelieving. "You're kidding." "Nope. Receptionist told me to get lost. Didn't even check the calendar." "That's wild," James muttered. "What, you walk in wearing a hoodie or something?" "Just a coat and a briefcase. Guess it wasn't shiny enough." James let out a slow whistle. "They thought you were a courier or something." "More like a salesman," Marcus said. "Either way, not worth their time." Another pause, longer this time. James spoke carefully. "You're serious about what I think you're about to say?" Marcus took a breath. "I'm ready to redirect the deal if Horizon can meet the same terms, and I mean all of them. You know we can. Our lawyers already reviewed the last draft. We were ready 2 months ago." "All right," Marcus said. "Then consider it yours. I'll have my general counsel reach out by end of day. We'll move fast." James didn't hide his excitement. "Marcus, I don't know what to say, man. This is huge." "Say thank you," Marcus said with a hint of warmth, "and don't make me regret it." "You won't." "Swear." Marcus ended the call, slipped the phone back into his coat, and didn't linger. Across the street, Carter & Pierce's tower looked the same as it did 30 minutes ago. Tall, proud, expensive. But to Marcus, it already felt hollow. Inside, on the 31st floor, a glass pitcher of cucumber water sat untouched. 10 chairs around the boardroom table were filled with senior partners, executives, and the lead negotiator, who kept glancing at his watch. Still nothing. "No call, no text?" one asked. The negotiator shook his head. "He confirmed yesterday. He's never been late." A senior partner frowned, sent someone to check downstairs. An intern bolted to the elevator, breathless, and came back shaking her head. No sign of him. Reception said someone came by earlier but got turned away. Thought he was a contractor. Silence swept the room like a cold draft. You're telling me they didn't even let him in? The negotiator asked slowly. That's what she said. Whispers turned to confusion, confusion to unease. A few executives started typing furiously on their phones. Then a woman in a navy blazer, sharp-eyed partner named Claire Thornton, spoke up. Did he walk out, and is he serious about this deal? He's gone, someone started. But maybe. No, Claire cut in. You don't walk away from 8 months of negotiations unless you know exactly where you're going next. This man doesn't bluff. We just insulted one of the sharpest operators in this industry at our front desk. No one said a word. The negotiator finally asked, should we reach out? Claire shook her head. You can try, but it won't matter. Across the city, Marcus was in a car headed to the airport. As it pulled away from the curb, he didn't look back. He knew what was coming, and he didn't need to see it to feel it. But the boardroom upstairs was still waiting, unaware their moment had already passed. By Monday morning, the Carter and Pierce boardroom wasn't just tense. It crackled like a live wire. No one had heard from Marcus Everett. No emails, no calls. His team wasn't responding either, not even a cold, we're moving in another direction. Nothing. Silence. Lauren was back at her desk, sipping an iced latte through a straw, scrolling brunch photos from the weekend. She glanced at the revolving doors once or twice, half expecting to see the guy from Friday. Maybe he'd come crawling back with apologies or delivery papers. But nothing. Upstairs in a heated internal meeting, the firm's leadership tried to spin the no-show into a temporary hiccup. Maybe a personal emergency, one partner said. Maybe he's leveraging for better terms, another offered. Claire Thornton, calm and cutting as ever, shook her head. Marcus Everett doesn't play those games. If he walked away quietly, it's not an accident. That afternoon, confirmation hit. Horizon Dynamics, Carter and Pierce's closest competitor, issued a press release. We're thrilled to announce a strategic integration with NextGen Solutions, the Midwest's leading logistics optimization platform. This partnership marks an industry turning point. The email landed in inboxes at 2:00 p.m. By 2:15, the boardroom was dead silent. Someone dropped their pen. A senior advisor, gray-haired and tight-lipped, pushed back his chair and muttered, "Well, that's a hell of a ball game." Someone turned to Claire. "Can we pull him back?" She didn't blink. You don't get to insult a man like that downstairs and expect him to answer your calls. Lauren still had no idea. Not until later that night, over drinks with a friend from HR, did she learn who Marcus really was. Her friend leaned across the table, voice low. You know that deal we've been working on for half a year? The tech thing? That was the guy you turned away on Friday. Lauren blinked. No way. That guy? Her friend nodded, lips tight. He's worth more than our entire quarterly revenue. You told him to get lost. Lauren laughed nervously. Okay, but he didn't say he was that important. He did, her friend said. You just didn't listen. The next morning, HR sent out emails about front desk protocols and gatekeeper sensitivity training. Lauren was called into a meeting with a supervisor who used phrases like reputational damage and public perception. She kept asking, how was I supposed to know? But no one had a good answer, because that was the problem. Meanwhile, Marcus was deep in talks with Horizon's leadership team. He signed within 3 days. The partnership gave Horizon access to NextGen's proprietary AI scheduling, a leap that put them a league ahead of Carter and Pierce. Clients noticed. One by one, companies that had leaned on Carter for years started calling with questions, then canceling, then going silent. In 10 business days, Carter lost 4 major contracts and a promising government pilot deal. 2 years in the making. Investors got jittery. Shares dropped 13% in a week. By Friday, one senior partner who'd vouched for hiring Lauren quietly resigned. But the real fallout hadn't even started. The Monday after the stock dip, the office felt different. Executives who once traded handshakes now passed in silence. Hallway chatter stopped when certain people walked by. Even the cleaning crew seemed to sense something had shifted. The front desk sat empty most of the morning. Lauren didn't show. Word was she'd been put on unpaid leave pending review. No one said it out loud, but everyone knew it was about him. The man in the coat, the one she'd brushed off like a flyer peddler. Upstairs in the executive suite, the walls were closing in. The head of partnerships, Greg Larson, spent the weekend on damage control, calling clients, explaining the unforeseen partnership disruption with NextGen. But every call felt like chasing a ghost. One client from Boise didn't even wait for his pitch. "You lost NextGen," the man said flatly. "We're moving our business to Horizon." Click. In a week, the firm lost over $20,000 in projected revenue, and the bleeding wouldn't stop. Claire Thornton sat quietly at her desk, scrolling LinkedIn. She'd known this moment was coming, not just because of the mistake, but because of what it exposed. Their arrogance had always been their blind spot. They'd built success on pedigrees, connections, the right look. But somewhere along the way, they forgot real power doesn't always wear a three-piece suit. Claire had pushed for the NextGen deal from the start. She respected what Marcus had built, admired his restraint, and now watched it all unravel. She couldn't even say she was surprised. The press caught on next. A blog out of Tacoma broke the story. Tech giant NextGen walks away from major deal after being dismissed at lobby. Signs with competitor instead. The headline went viral. Within hours, business outlets picked it up. Reddit threads dissected it. Twitter exploded with hot takes. Most people didn't know Marcus personally, but everyone had a story like his. Judged, dismissed, underestimated. The internet found its folk hero. People dug into Lauren's old posts. Screenshots surfaced. Nothing outright cruel, but just enough snark to fuel the fire. Carter and Pierce tried to douse the flames with a vague statement about reassessing internal procedures and strengthening inclusivity efforts. No one cared. The damage had a face and a name. Marcus Everett. Yet Marcus never said a word publicly. No statements, no press tours, no tweets. Just silence. And that silence spoke louder than any speech could. By month's end, 2 of the firm's top clients terminated contracts. A third, out of Spokane, was in talks with Horizon, citing trust concerns. Behind closed doors, senior leadership turned on each other. Some wanted heads to roll, others pushed for a full rebrand. Greg Larson resigned that Thursday, effective immediately. Lauren was quietly let go. No goodbye email, no HR send-off, just a manila envelope and a short walk to the elevators. She didn't look angry when she left, just stunned, like the weight of it hadn't fully landed until the doors closed behind her. But everyone else knew. The dominoes had fallen, and the hands that tipped them weren't loud or vengeful. They belonged to someone quiet, someone who didn't need to shout to be heard. 2 months later, as Seattle thawed from a stubborn April chill, Marcus Everett returned. No announcement, no calendar invites, no cameras. He walked through the same glass doors in the same charcoal coat, carrying the same weathered briefcase. This time, the security guard stood as soon as he saw him, radioing upstairs. Within minutes, someone from the executive floor was coming down. Marcus didn't speak to the front desk, didn't even glance at it. Lauren was gone. A quiet temp named Cassandra sat there, politely greeting him, not recognizing the man before her. He gave a slight nod and waited. Claire Thornton was the one who met him. She stepped out of the elevator in a tailored gray coat, her expression unreadable but not cold. She didn't offer a handshake right away, just a quiet Marcus, like she was acknowledging something overdue. He said her name back, same steady tone. "Claire, I appreciate you coming," she said, "even if it's not what we hoped for." He didn't respond to that, not right away. They walked together to a small private conference room on the 4th floor. Nothing fancy, no big views, just 2 chairs, a table, and a coffee carafe someone had thoughtfully left. Neither touched it. Claire sat. "I'll be straight with you. The firm's taken a beating. We've lost 6 major contracts, 2 more are pulling back. Our reputation, well, you know." Marcus said nothing. "We've made changes," Claire went on. "The people responsible for what happened, they're no longer with us." "That's good," Marcus replied calmly, "but that's not why I'm here." Claire folded her hands. "Then why?" Marcus met her eyes. "Because someone asked if I'd ever speak publicly about what happened. I told them no. I'm not interested in revenge. That's not how I work." Claire exhaled, a faint, almost invisible sigh of relief. "I came," he added, "because I needed to see what I walked away from, to remind myself I made the right call." There was a silence between them, sharp but respectful. Then Claire said, "You did." He stood. The meeting lasted less than 9 minutes. As they walked back to the elevators, a group of interns passed in the hallway. One, a young black woman in a teal blazer, slowed when she saw Marcus. Her eyes widened just enough to let him know she knew exactly who he was. She didn't say anything, just gave a respectful nod. He returned it. Back in the lobby, as Marcus moved toward the door, his gaze flicked to the front desk. Cassandra was busy on the phone, arranging visitor passes. She didn't notice him watching, but the desk looked different now. Not because of who sat there, but because of what it used to represent. He stepped onto the sidewalk without a word. The wind tugged at his coat, and for the first time since the failed meeting, he allowed himself a small smile. Not smug, not triumphant, just certain. Inside, Claire lingered in the lobby a moment, watching him vanish into the crowd. The man they could have built something powerful with, the man they misjudged, underestimated, rejected, yet he'd given them the rarest gift of all, grace. But the lesson stuck with everyone who'd witnessed it. It's easy to talk about power like it always announces itself, like it walks in with a red carpet, badges, and applause. But real power, the kind that moves without noise, that doesn't need to explain itself, that power looks a lot like Marcus Everett. No titles embroidered on his chest, no entourage, just a man, his work, and the story that shaped him. Carter and Pierce learned something the hard way, something most don't grasp until it's too late. Judging someone by their appearance isn't just bad business. It's short-sighted, it's lazy. It's a kind of blindness you don't notice until everything's burning and you're wondering who struck the match. Marcus didn't destroy the company with a press release or a smear campaign. He didn't need to. He just chose to take his value where it would be respected, and in doing so he reminded people, loudly, silently, that respect doesn't come from wealth, influence, or image. It comes from character, from how you treat someone when you think they have nothing to offer. And maybe that's what stung the firm most. Not the lost money, not the headlines, but the realization it could have been avoided with a shred of humility. Every office has a Lauren. Every company has people who make snap judgments because someone doesn't fit their idea of success. Sometimes they do it quietly, sometimes with a laugh, sometimes with a line like, "You don't belong here." But what if that person is the opportunity? What if they're the one holding the key to your future? What if they're already 10 steps ahead and you just slammed the door in your own face? This wasn't just a cautionary tale for corporate America. It's a lesson for all of us about decency, patience, and slowing down to really see people, not for what they wear or how they speak, but for who they are and what they bring to the table. Because the truth is, character walks into a room long before authority does. And if you can't recognize it, you don't deserve the benefits it brings. So the next time someone shows up looking nothing like you expected, pause, listen, ask, don't assume. Because the cost of arrogance isn't just financial. Sometimes it's your reputation, your partnerships, your future. And once that's gone, you don't always get a second shot. If this story made you think or hit home, don't scroll past, share it, talk about it. And if you haven't subscribed, we've got more stories like this, each one a mirror to the world we live in.